Anne Boleyn.
Adultery, treason, even incest.
Executed at the Tower of London. The woman who changed history forever.
Anne Boleyn, once the radiant Queen of England, met a tragic end in 1536. Executed on charges of adultery and incest, her story serves as a chilling testament to the abuse of power and the fragility in human life of the face of unchecked authority. But Anne Boleyn's legacy extends from beyond what one might imagine. Her image has been relentlessly shaped and reshaped by centuries of historical interpretation and popular culture, often with devastating consequences, destroying the image of a once beloved queen.
From Hollywood films to Broadway musicals, Anne has been relentlessly depicted as an unloyal wife, helpless woman, and a scheming criminal. These portrayals, while entertaining, rarely delve into the complexities of her character, her intelligence, her dignity, or her political agenda that ultimately led to her downfall. They often prioritize dramatic effect over historical accuracy, reducing a complex individual to a mere plot device.
Not my thing.
Anne Boleyn was very involved in politics. She supported the Reformation as well as King Henry VIII's religious and political policies. She promoted the appointment of reforming bishops such as Thomas Cranmer and Hugh Latimer. Anne Boleyn kept prohibited Lutheran Bibles and helped those affected by religious persecution. She also was the first royal patron of Hans Holbein. These are 4 small examples of actions Anne Boleyn took while she was queen, but most of all, she stood up for her beliefs and protected the religious rights of her people.
You're living with his wife. Like, what was I meant to do?
This is inaccurate because Anne Boleyn only lived in a household with Catherine of Aragon and King Henry VIII before their relationship, since Anne Boleyn served as a lady-in-waiting to Catherine of Aragon in her teen years. King Henry VIII wrote letters to Anne Boleyn requesting her to be his mistress. She rejected him, clearly stating that if they were to have a relationship, the only title she would have would be as his wife.
I cannot, in good conscience, accept a position that would diminish my honor and place a stain on my family's name, nor am I content to be a mere mistress.
My soul yearns for a true and lasting union, a marriage blessed by the Church and sanctified by God. Only then can I offer you the devotion and fidelity that a queen owes her king.
This leads us to Anne Boleyn's execution and why it was extremely misrepresented. King Henry VIII wanted to give Anne a dignified death. He called for the expert swordsman, the hangman of Calais, who was renowned for his skill at beheading by sword, was sent for possibly before Anne had been found guilty. This image is inaccurate because the execution is wielding an axe instead of a sword. This image was printed and distributed before the public was informed that she was to be killed with a sword.
By examining historical evidence critically and challenging the narratives that have been imposed upon her, we can begin to appreciate her as a complex individual who navigated a treacherous political landscape and played a significant role in one of the most pivotal periods in English history. Without her, there is no significant evidence that the English Reformation would have happened. Anne Boleyn's story serves as a cautionary tale about the dangers of unchecked power and the importance of upholding the rule of law. But it also serves as a reminder of the importance of critical thinking, historical accuracy, and the ongoing struggle to reclaim and reevaluate the narratives of the past.
This raises another possibility. Could the events leading up to Anne Boleyn's execution prove her innocence? A recent survey showed that 90% of historians believe that the only thing that Anne Boleyn was guilty for was her failure to produce a male heir. One question that led historians to the conclusion is if the expert swordsman was summoned prior to Anne Boleyn's execution. Does this constitute sufficient evidence of her innocence, or could this have been a well-coordinated plot to eliminate Anne and facilitate the king's subsequent relationship with Jane Seymour, leading history scholars to believe that Anne Boleyn's charges were fabricated by the king's advisor, Thomas Cromwell, and King Henry VIII, as a strategic maneuver to facilitate the removal of Anne and its pursuit of a more suitable partner.
Anne was inspiring, brave, and intelligent. Leading up to her death, she attended Mass and confession, prepared how she would kneel, and gave a dignified speech. The speech she gave was recorded by Edward Hall, a member of the Tudor Parliament. He wrote it down so it could be remembered throughout history. This next clip is how the show The Tudors from Paramount Plus depicted Anne Boleyn's execution speech and death.
Christian people, I have come here to die. I pray and beseech you all to pray for the life of the king.
I am come hither to die, for according to the law and by the law I am judged to die, and therefore I will speak nothing against it. I am come hither to accuse no man, nor to speak anything of that, whereof I am accused and condemned to die. But I pray God save the king, and send him to long reign over you. And thus I take my leave of the world and of you all, and I heartily desire you all pray for me. O Lord, have mercy on me. To God I commend my soul.
Anne Boleyn's execution speech, while brief, is a complex historical document. Accepting her fate, she expressed her loyalty to King Henry VIII, likely to protect her daughter Elizabeth I. She emphasized her spiritual concerns, seeking prayers for her soul, reflecting the importance of religion in Tudor England. Whether this was a genuine expression of faith or a calculated performance to maintain dignity and protect her loved ones, her words offer a glimpse into the tragic circumstances of her downfall and the complex relationships between politics and personal relationships, and how the two may be clouded in the face of unchecked authority. It is unlikely that if someone else had to approve his actions, King Henry VIII would have gotten away with anything he did.
Researchers have long debated the circumstances surrounding Anne's downfall. From the question of her guilt, most contemporary scholars agree that the charges of adultery, incest, and conspiring to kill her husband were contrived, to the issue of whether Henry bears the brunt of the responsibility for the Queen's fate.
Historian Maylin Soley from the Smithsonian Magazine believes she has an answer to why King Henry VIII manipulated the events leading to Anne Boleyn's death the way he did.
The article states Anne's actual crimes were merely failing to produce a male heir and refusing to rein in her headstrong personality. Found guilty of treason, the Queen was sentenced to be burnt here within the Tower of London on the Green, or else to have thy head smitten off per the King's pleasure.
In fact, several historians and authors feel the same way. There are countless articles expressing the same opinion, that Anne Boleyn was innocent, and historians have favored the explanation that Anne Boleyn was the victim of a conspiracy by Thomas Cromwell.
Thomas Cromwell was the mastermind behind the plan to execute Anne Boleyn, driven by both personal gain and a desire to assist the king. But why would Thomas Cromwell earn from having Anne Boleyn lose her crown? Why would he fabricate evidence against Anne Boleyn, evidence that would eventually lead to her death?
At first, Thomas Cromwell liked Anne Boleyn because she supported his political ideas. However, their relationship took a twist when Anne Boleyn started shaping her own political agenda, threatening the relationship Thomas had spent years building with the king. Anne Boleyn began to influence the king's political beliefs, and when she and the king began having marital problems, Thomas Cromwell saw an opportunity to get rid of his new opponent. He introduced the king to Anne Boleyn's lady-in-waiting, Jane Seymour, and came up with a plan to get rid of Anne Boleyn.
A publication, Tudor Trial is a website with resources focused on the Tudor period in English history. An article titled Thomas Cromwell, The Downfall of Anne Boleyn from this source states, Cromwell had only furthered Anne's cause for as long as it was aligned with that of the king. He felt no personal loyalty or affection towards her, and like Henry, was no doubt tiring of her increasingly volatile behavior. Cromwell was never one to back the wrong course. Although Henry had been so obsessed with Anne that he had overturned the entire religious and political establishment to marry her, and as his queen, she had proved a grave disappointment.
Anne Boleyn's story serves as a cautionary tale about the dangers of unchecked power and the importance of upholding the rule of law. Ultimately, Anne Boleyn's story is a reminder that history is not just a collection of facts, but it continues to shape our understanding of ourselves and the world around us. By confronting the past honestly and critically, we can learn from the mistakes of the past and strive to create a more just and equitable future for all, and the struggle for justice and the fight against tyranny continue today. Anne Boleyn's story serves as a poignant reminder that we must always be vigilant in defending our rights and ensuring that power is exercised responsibly and justly.